Your life does not transform by accident, and it does not shift because the world suddenly decides to hand you a better set of circumstances. It changes the instant you take responsibility for it. This is the first truth people struggle to accept because responsibility feels heavy, but the weight of avoidance is far heavier. Every morning you wake up, you're faced with the same mirror. That reflection asks only one question: are you owning this life, or are you drifting through it hoping someone else will steer? Many drift. They wait for the boss to notice them, the parents to approve of them, the friends to encourage them, or society to reward them. But waiting is the art of surrendering your power. Success begins the moment you say, "Enough. I choose to lead." That choice is not about arrogance or perfection. It is about honesty. You see the truth of your current situation, however uncomfortable, and you stop outsourcing blame. You stop pointing to your past, your upbringing, the economy, or the unfairness of life. None of those excuses move the needle. They are bandages covering the deeper wound, that you have not yet stepped into full ownership. Think of the people who inspire you most. Chances are, they are not those who were given every advantage. They are those who reached a breaking point and decided to stop waiting for external rescue. They chose to claim ownership, and by doing so, they rewrote their futures. The power of ownership is that it eliminates waiting. You don't wait for the right mood, the right partner, or the perfect motivation. You move, and clarity arrives after. Confidence is born not before the step, but because of it. There is a painful comfort in blaming others. Blame cushions the ego. It gives you temporary relief. It's not my fault. But that comfort is poison. It keeps you static, replaying the same days, the same habits, the same unfulfilled potential. Ownership, in contrast, is uncomfortable at first because it requires humility. It asks you to admit you let things slide, that you ignored your own standards, that you could have shown up differently. Yet this honesty is the foundation stone of growth. Until you see clearly where you are responsible, you cannot build a better path. Imagine your life as a vehicle sitting at a crossroads. Every time you wait for someone else to drive, the engine rusts, the tires deflate, the opportunity passes. But when you step into the driver's seat, however unsure at first, you discover something astonishing. The car moves. Even a small turn of the wheel gives you momentum. That is ownership. It is not dramatic speeches or waiting for destiny to align. It is the simple act of taking the wheel. Right now, in your schedule, there are places where you've surrendered control. Maybe it's your health, where you've allowed excuses of time and stress to rule. Maybe it's your finances, where you've told yourself you'll start managing them when you earn more. But the truth is, the earning will never outpace poor choices. Maybe it's your relationships, where you've expected others to make the effort while you hide in silence. In every one of these areas, ownership is the difference between progress and frustration. And let's be real, waiting for motivation will always keep you stuck. Motivation is unreliable. It comes in waves and disappears when life gets inconvenient. Discipline, however, is steady. Discipline is the decision to move before you feel like it. It is the decision to own your choices, regardless of mood. That is why ownership is the starting line. Without it, nothing else matters. With it, everything else begins to align. I want you to pause and ask yourself honestly, how are you really living? Not the image you show others, not the stories you tell yourself, but the real rhythms of your days. How you spend your time, what habits you reinforce, what energy you bring into your home, your work, your relationships. If the answer unsettles you, don't run. Don't distract yourself with another scroll, another excuse, another delay. Face it. That discomfort is the door to change. The truth may sting, but it will also set you free. Ownership is not punishment. It is power. To say, "I created this mess, therefore I can clean it up," is not weakness. It is strength. It means you're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're the author of change. And when you claim that authorship, the excuses shrink, the possibilities expand, and the road ahead becomes yours to walk. So stop waiting for someone to push you. Push yourself. Stop waiting for a crisis to force change. Choose change now. Growth is uncomfortable. Responsibility is heavy, but both are worth it. No one else knows what it's like to be you, so no one else can make the decisions you've been avoiding. Only you. That is the essence of ownership. The acceptance that no savior is coming, and the celebration that none is needed. You already hold the steering wheel. Let this be the moment you draw a line. You say, "From this point forward, I lead my life." That declaration does not guarantee perfection. You will still stumble, still fall short, still confront days when you want to give up. But ownership means you no longer run from those moments. You take responsibility, you stand back up, and you recommit. That cycle of honesty, action, and recommitment becomes your new rhythm. Now, before we move forward, I want to invite you, the listener, to engage with this journey in a personal way. Drop a comment sharing where you are watching from and what time of day it is for you right now. This channel, Audiobook Sanctuary, is not just a voice in the dark. It is a community of people choosing to rise. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell because you don't want to miss the next steps in this journey. Each part builds on the last, and you'll want to walk it in sequence. And with that, the mirror moment is complete. You have looked inward, you have faced the truth, and you've heard the call. Success starts with you. The next step is obvious. Once you own your life, you must act on it. Ownership without action is still a form of delay. So in the section ahead, we will step into the uncomfortable but liberating practice of doing the hard things, the very tasks you've been avoiding. That is where real momentum begins. Once you've accepted that success starts with you, the next logical demand is action. Ownership without movement is just theory. It's like buying running shoes, but never leaving the house. Too many people sit on the edge of their lives with intentions stacked high, but with no proof to show. They make promises to themselves and then watch the days slip by untouched. The gap between knowing and doing is where dreams go to die. It's easy to convince yourself that you're preparing, that you're waiting for the right moment. But life doesn't pause to give you that perfect window. If you wait for everything to align, when the job slows down, when the kids are older, when your energy magically appears, you'll still be waiting years from now. The truth is, the right time doesn't come. You create it. Action is not about feeling ready. Readiness is an illusion. If you wait until you feel confident, you'll never take the first step. Confidence is the byproduct of doing, not the prerequisite. You build strength by facing the uncomfortable, not by avoiding it. Every time you confront something you've been putting off, whether it's cleaning your space, tackling your finances, or having the hard conversation, you grow. Each act of courage rewrites your identity. Consider this. The people who seem unstoppable are rarely more talented or lucky than anyone else. Their advantage is persistence in doing the things others avoid. They stop waiting for inspiration and rely on discipline instead. They choose to rise when they're tired, when they're scared, when they'd rather coast. And every choice builds momentum. Think of momentum as a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it feels almost pointless, like nothing is happening. But with every push, every small action, the snowball grows until it becomes unstoppable. That's how habits of action accumulate. At first, it's just one workout, one journal entry, one focused hour of work. Then, as you keep showing up, the actions stack. Before long, they change your self-image. You no longer see yourself as someone who talks about change, but as someone who embodies it. And let's address the myth of motivation. Motivation is fragile. It fades the moment things get inconvenient. If you only act when you're motivated, you'll quit when discomfort shows up. Discipline, on the other hand, is built through repeated action even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up because you said you would, not because the mood hit you. Discipline is a muscle, and every act of follow-through makes it stronger. Maybe right now there are tasks you've been dodging, the cluttered desk you promised to clean tomorrow, the bill you keep ignoring, the diet changes you swear you'll start Monday, the conversation you avoid because it scares you. Each delay robs you of energy, because somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you're betraying your own word. And nothing erodes self-respect faster than repeatedly breaking promises to yourself. So how do you break the cycle? Start small, but start now. Pick one thing that has been hanging over you. Do it today, even if imperfectly. Don't wait for the big dramatic transformation. The point is to prove to yourself that you move. Once you act, the fog lifts. The procrastination loses its grip. You discover that the monster you were afraid of was smaller than your imagination made it. It will feel uncomfortable. That's how you know it matters. Action that requires no effort is rarely the action that moves the needle. The tough choices, waking up early, saying no to distractions, sticking to a workout, turning off the television to read or build, are the ones that change you. When you choose them, you're not just finishing tasks. You're reshaping your identity into someone who does what's necessary. Let's be clear. Life will never reward your intentions. It rewards what you finish. You can write down goals, talk about them with friends, even post them online for accountability. But until you complete the work, nothing changes. That's why the call is to stand up and do what needs to be done, even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody notices. Ask yourself honestly, what's the one action you've been avoiding that could shift your trajectory right now? Is it finally starting the business plan you've been dreaming about? Is it calling the mentor you've been too nervous to reach out to? Is it dropping the unhealthy habit you've excused for years? Whatever it is, that avoided action is the doorway. Step through it. And remember, action doesn't have to be glamorous. Real progress is often messy, unremarkable, and unseen, but it compounds. Over weeks and months, the consistency of doing the hard things builds a foundation no one can take from you. You stop being fragile, dependent on motivation or outside validation. You become solid, trustworthy to yourself. That is the greatest strength you can carry. So here's the challenge. Today, not tomorrow, prove it. Do the task that's been whispering in the back of your mind. Sweep away the dust of excuses, because nothing shifts until you do. With ownership as your foundation and action as your proof, the next step is inevitable. You must look at the patterns you repeat every day. Because one-off actions matter, but it's the habits, those invisible routines stacked hour by hour, that either carry you forward or quietly drag you backward. And that is where we'll go next. Action is the spark, but habits are the fuel that keeps the fire alive. You can force yourself to do something once, maybe twice, through sheer willpower. But if you want lasting change, if you want the results to compound into something undeniable, then you must look at what you do repeatedly, often without even thinking about it. Your habits are the silent architects of your life. Consider how much of your day is already governed by routine. You wake up at a certain time, reach for your phone, brush your teeth, make coffee, check emails, scroll through social media. None of these steps require conscious decision-making anymore. They've become automatic. And therein lies the danger, because whatever you automate, you reinforce. If your defaults are weak, your results will be weak. If your defaults are strong, your results will be strong. One of the most damaging lies people tell themselves is that big change requires big moves. It doesn't. Real change is born from small adjustments that are repeated consistently. Eating better starts with a single meal choice. Getting fit begins with a 20-minute workout. Writing a book begins with a paragraph written daily. On their own, these actions feel trivial. But repeated, they rewire your identity. You stop being someone who wants to be healthy, disciplined, or productive. You become someone who simply is. The reverse is true as well. Every time you hit the snooze button, skip the gym, scroll for an hour instead of working on your goals, you're not just wasting time. You're voting for a version of yourself you claim you don't want to be. Habits cast votes for your identity, and the tally adds up fast. You cannot outrun your routines. They will always catch up to you. Take inventory of your life. What do your mornings look like? Do they set you up for focus, or do they immediately invite chaos? Do you spend the first hour on growth, or do you let noise and distraction dictate your energy? Look at your evenings. Are they winding down with intention, preparing you for tomorrow? Or are they wasted in mindless distraction? These are not small details. They are levers that decide whether you climb or stagnate. Bad habits are sticky because they're easy. They offer quick comfort at the cost of long-term progress. That's why breaking them feels like swimming upstream. But the difficulty is also the reason it matters. Each time you resist the easy impulse, you strengthen your discipline. Each time you choose the harder, growth-oriented option, you stretch your capacity for self-control. And every stretch makes the next choice easier. The good news is, you don't have to fix everything overnight. In fact, trying to overhaul your entire life in 1 week is the fastest way to crash. True growth is incremental. Replace one unhelpful habit with a useful one. Do it consistently until it sticks. Then add another. Progress will feel slow at first, but it will snowball because good habits support each other. Going to bed earlier makes it easier to wake up. Waking up earlier makes it easier to exercise. Exercise sharpens your mind for work. The cycle builds strength instead of stealing it. Think of your environment as the silent partner in this process. If your space is cluttered, your mind will struggle to stay clear. If your kitchen is full of junk food, your discipline will constantly be tested. If your phone is within reach while you're working, distraction will always win. Make it hard to fail. Set up your surroundings so they push you toward the habits you want and away from the ones you're trying to break. And don't wait until life feels calm to start building structure. Chaos is not going anywhere. If you only practice discipline when things are convenient, you'll never practice it at all. Build habits in the storm. That's when they matter most. Now, some people will argue, that's just who I am. I've always been this way. But that's not truth. That's conditioning. Habits have shaped your identity, and habits can reshape it. Who you are is malleable. If your current identity doesn't serve you, rewrite it through different routines. Every decision is an opportunity to vote for the person you want to become. Ask yourself, what is the small choice I can repeat today that, over time, will transform me? Maybe it's drinking water instead of soda. Maybe it's journaling for 5 minutes. Maybe it's committing to read 1 chapter a day instead of endlessly scrolling. These choices seem insignificant, but when stacked daily, they will define the arc of your life. Habits are not glamorous. They rarely get applause, but they are the invisible scaffolding that supports greatness. If you want to change your results, stop obsessing over the big wins and start tightening the daily rituals. Because eventually, your habits will either make you or break you. You've owned your life, and you've proven you can act. Now, it's time to choose which actions you'll repeat until they become second nature. That's where lasting change is born. And when those habits begin to take root, another choice will confront you. Will you cling to comfort, or will you lean into growth? That is where we're headed next. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that you've done enough, that you can take the day off, that tomorrow will be a better time to start again. And while comfort gives you short-term relief, it silently robs you of long-term progress. Growth, on the other hand, is demanding. It stretches you beyond what feels safe. It asks for energy when you're tired, focus when you're distracted, and courage when you're afraid. But here's the paradox. Only growth delivers the life you want. Comfort maintains the status quo. Growth creates transformation. Every person faces this daily fork in the road. Do you choose the easy path? The one paved with routines you've already mastered? The one that feels predictable? Or do you step onto the harder path? The one lined with resistance, discomfort, and uncertainty, but also the one that unlocks strength and possibility? Most people, understandably, choose comfort. And that's why most people repeat the same year over and over again, mistaking routine for progress. Growth is not supposed to feel good at the beginning. That's what makes it growth. It's the muscle sore after a workout, the voice shaking in a difficult conversation, the mind straining when you learn a new skill. These moments don't feel pleasant, but they are evidence that you are expanding. Without them, you remain the same. Think of comfort as a warm blanket. It keeps you cozy in the moment, but if you never throw it off, you'll never get out of bed to face the world. Growth is the cold air on your skin when you first rise. It wakes you, shocks you, and forces you to move. The choice between comfort and growth is not about pain versus pleasure. It's about stagnation versus possibility. Let's be honest. You already know the areas where you've been choosing comfort. Maybe it's hitting snooze instead of getting up early to exercise. Maybe it's staying silent when you know you should speak up. Maybe it's settling for relationships, jobs, or routines that feel safe but suffocate your potential. Each time you give in to comfort, you delay the version of yourself you're capable of becoming. The trap of comfort is that it feels harmless. After all, what's one skipped workout, one delayed project, one ignored opportunity? But repetition is what matters. Just as positive habits compound to build momentum, small comforts compound to build regret. And regret is always more painful than discipline. People rarely look back on their lives wishing they had chosen comfort more often. They regret the chances they didn't take, the growth they postponed, the potential they never tested. So how do you choose growth when every part of you craves comfort? First, expect discomfort. Anticipate it the way an athlete anticipates soreness after training. When you expect the stretch, you don't interpret it as a sign you're failing. You recognize it as proof you're moving forward. Second, set higher standards. Don't ask yourself, "What do I feel like doing?" Ask instead, "What will my future self thank me for?" That shift in perspective cuts through excuses. Growth doesn't demand giant leaps every day. It requires consistent choices that tilt toward challenge. It's saying no to distractions when your focus wavers. It's doing the extra set at the gym when your muscles ache. It's finishing the project when fatigue tells you to quit. Each of these decisions is small on its own, but collectively they form the backbone of resilience. Here's a hard truth. If you are not growing, you are shrinking. There is no such thing as standing still. Time is moving, opportunities are passing, and the world is evolving. If you're not moving with it, you're falling behind. Choosing comfort repeatedly creates the illusion of stability, but in reality, it slowly erodes your potential. The reward for choosing growth is not just external success, it's internal respect. You begin to trust yourself. You stop feeling like an imposter in your own life, because your actions align with your potential. You look back and see a trail of moments where you stretched, and those moments add up to a stronger, more capable you. That self-respect is worth every ounce of discomfort. Ask yourself now, where have you been settling? What hard choice have you been postponing? What uncomfortable action would change everything if you committed to it? The answers to these questions are not mysteries. Deep down, you already know. You've just been avoiding them because they're hard. But hard is the gateway. Growth is a decision you make daily. Not just once, not just when it's exciting, but over and over again when the temptation to stay comfortable knocks at your door. And every time you choose growth, the decision becomes easier. Eventually, growth becomes your default setting. You've claimed ownership. You've started taking action. You've examined your habits. And now you've embraced the truth that comfort is not your ally, but your enemy. That sets the stage for the next level: accountability. Because growth in public is meaningless unless you can sustain it in private. When no one is clapping, when no one is checking in. The true test is what you do in silence. That is where we go next. Growth means little if it isn't anchored by accountability. It's easy to look strong in public, to post progress online, or to tell people you're working on yourself. But what happens when no one is watching? What happens in the quiet hours when the applause fades and you are left alone with your choices? That is where accountability lives, and it is the true test of your discipline. Anyone can perform when the spotlight is on them. Students study harder the night before an exam. Employees put in extra effort when the boss is hovering. Athletes train with intensity when coaches are watching. But the difference between temporary effort and lasting transformation is what you do in silence. When no one is checking your progress, when no one would even notice if you slacked off, those moments decide your identity. Think of accountability as a private contract with yourself. It's not about perfection, it's about honesty. Did you follow through on the promise you made yesterday? Did you show up when you said you would? Did you give your best effort when you had every excuse to coast? Accountability strips away the facade. It doesn't care what you say. It only cares what you do. Here's the problem most people face. They only perform under pressure. They rise when a deadline looms, but collapse when freedom returns. That cycle erodes confidence, because deep down you know the truth. You can't trust yourself without external force. The way to rebuild trust is simple. Start keeping your word to yourself. Not to impress others, not to earn likes or validation, but because your self-respect depends on it. Track your progress. Write down what you said you'd do and check whether you did it. Don't make it emotional. Make it factual. Notice the gaps. Where did you cut corners? Where did you let yourself off the hook? Accountability is not about shame. It's about clarity. When you see the truth, you can adjust. Without it, you drift into denial, and denial kills growth. Think of a craftsman honing his skill alone in a workshop. No audience, no recognition. Just the quiet repetition of effort, day after day. That unseen discipline is what eventually produces mastery. The same applies to your life. The private decisions, invisible to the world, shape the public results everyone else will see. And here's the liberating truth. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop depending on others to push you. You become your own driver. You no longer crumble when the crowd is silent, because you've already built momentum in solitude. That kind of strength cannot be bought or borrowed. It must be built. Yes, accountability is uncomfortable. It forces you to face the small lies you tell yourself. It exposes the gap between your intentions and your actions, but it also frees you. Once you know you can count on yourself, you stop chasing external permission. You stop needing someone else to demand more from you. You begin to lead yourself. So what does this look like in practice? It means showing up to the gym when you promised yourself you would, even if no one cares. It means shutting off distractions when it's time to work, even though no boss is tracking your screen time. It means finishing the project you set, even when no deadline looms. These little acts of integrity may not earn applause, but they build a deep sense of self-trust. Ask yourself, where have you been lowering your standards in private? Where have you allowed silence to become an excuse for slacking? If you raise the bar there, if you demand consistency even in obscurity, you'll find your confidence surging. Because confidence is not built by compliments, it's built by evidence. And the evidence is found in your private follow-through. Ownership gave you the wheel. Action started the car. Habits created momentum. Growth taught you to embrace discomfort. Now, accountability keeps you on the road when distractions try to pull you off course. It's the glue that holds everything together. And once you've proven you can trust yourself in silence, a new opportunity opens. To step into the identity of your future self. To not just imagine who you want to be, but to begin living as that person right now. That is where we go next. Once you can trust yourself in silence, the next step is to live as though your future self is already here. Too often people talk about who they want to become as if it's a distant destination, something waiting for them in the far-off someday. They dream about being disciplined, respected, healthy, or successful, but they keep behaving like the old version of themselves. That gap between who you say you want to be and how you act right now is the barrier that keeps you stuck. The truth is that transformation doesn't happen through wishing. It happens through alignment. You begin to close the gap the moment your actions match your intentions. If the future version of you is someone who wakes up early, stop negotiating with the snooze button. If the future version of you is someone who speaks with confidence, start training your voice today, even if it shakes. If the future version of you is disciplined, then discipline must show up in the smallest routines you keep. Think about actors who prepare for a role. They don't just memorize lines. They embody the character. They carry themselves differently, change their mannerisms, alter their thinking patterns until the line between actor and role blurs. You must take the same approach with your future self. Begin embodying that role now. Walk into rooms with the posture, energy, and presence of the person you want to be. Act like it's already true, because the more you behave that way, the more you believe it. This is not faking. This is practice. Every behavior you repeat writes a line of code in your identity. When you repeatedly act like your future self, the coding shifts. Before long, you no longer feel like you're pretending. You feel like you've become. That's the power of alignment. It moves you from theory into reality. Let's be clear. The hardest part is starting before you feel ready. You'll want to wait until you're more confident, more qualified, more experienced. But those qualities don't come first. They come later as a result of your practice. Readiness is not a requirement. It's the reward of acting anyway. Ask yourself, how would my future self handle stress? Would they lash out, or would they stay calm? How would my future self treat their body? With neglect or with care? How would they manage time, relationships, or opportunities? Each time you answer honestly, you're given a roadmap. Follow it in your actions today, and the future begins to arrive sooner than you thought. This approach transforms even the smallest decisions. Do you eat the fast food or the healthier option? Do you scroll mindlessly or read something that builds your mind? Do you give in to distraction or stay focused on the project? None of these choices seem dramatic in isolation, but each one is a chance to either reinforce the old you or to strengthen the new you. Over time, the pattern defines your identity. It helps to create cues in your environment. Place reminders where you'll see them. A note on your desk, a phrase on your phone screen, an object that symbolizes your commitment. These cues tell you, remember who you're becoming. When fatigue sets in, they nudge you back into alignment. The people around you will notice a shift, but not because you announce it. They'll see it in how you carry yourself, in the steadiness of your decisions, in the clarity of your words. You won't need to talk about becoming someone better. You'll already be living it. And that's the key. Stop waiting for permission. Stop thinking someone needs to validate your growth. You don't need applause to step into your future identity. You need courage to act like it's already real. Every day you wait, you strengthen the old version. Every day you choose alignment, you weaken it. You've owned your life, taken action, cleaned your habits, embraced growth, and built accountability. Now you're stepping into the identity of your future self. But there's one last barrier: excuses. Even as you grow, excuses will whisper, trying to lure you back into comfort and delay. To become unstoppable, you must silence them once and for all. That is where we turn next. Time is the one resource you can never earn back. Money can be rebuilt. Opportunities can return. But every hour wasted is gone forever. That's why people who truly transform their lives treat time as sacred. They understand that how they use their hours is the clearest evidence of what they value. And if you're serious about becoming your best self, you must learn to protect your time from the thieves of distraction, laziness, and avoidance. Think of your daily schedule as a bank account. Each day you're given 24 deposits. You can invest them in actions that build your future, or you can spend them on meaningless consumption. At the end of the day, the account is cleared, and tomorrow you start again with a new 24. What matters is whether your days accumulate toward growth or toward regret. Most people don't run out of time. They waste it in fragments. 10 minutes here scrolling, 30 minutes there gossiping, an hour avoiding what they know they should do. It feels harmless, but over weeks and months, those fragments add up to massive loss. That's why structure matters. Give your time a clear shape. Decide in advance what hours belong to your priorities. Guard them as if they were appointments with your future self, because they are. And don't confuse busyness with progress. You can fill your day with tasks and end it exhausted, but if none of those tasks mattered, you simply wasted energy. Effectiveness is not about doing more. It's about doing what counts. Ruthlessly cut what doesn't move you forward. Your life is too short to give away to distractions disguised as obligations. But even with time mastered, there's a deeper challenge: honesty. Because all the scheduling in the world won't help if you're lying to yourself about what's really holding you back. Self-honesty is the foundation of lasting growth. It means admitting the patterns you've been protecting, the fears you've been hiding, and the effort you haven't been giving. Maybe you've been blaming your job, when the truth is you've been lazy with your hours. Maybe you've been telling yourself you're too busy when the truth is you're spending hours on entertainment instead of execution. Maybe you've been insisting you don't know where to start when deep down you do. You're just afraid to commit. These are hard admissions, but they are liberating. Because once you name the truth, you can finally do something about it. Self-honesty doesn't mean shame. It doesn't mean beating yourself up. It means clarity. And clarity gives you power. When you stop lying about your habits, your time, or your fears, the excuses crumble. You're left with a clean starting point, free of illusion. That's where transformation takes root. Now we return full circle. Proof. Change is not measured in promises, in vision boards, or in pep talks. Change is measured in action. Every decision you make is evidence, either reinforcing the old you or creating the new one. You prove your seriousness not by talking about it, but by showing up, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is applauding. Proof is built in the quiet hours when you resist the distraction, when you hold the promise you made, when you keep pushing even after failing yesterday. Those are the moments that cement your identity. They whisper louder than any speech. This person is serious. This person is becoming. So let's close the loop. You owned your life instead of blaming. You acted when you didn't feel ready. You cleaned up your habits. You chose growth over comfort. You held yourself accountable in silence. You lived as your future self. You eliminated excuses. You mastered your time. You faced the truth with honesty. Now, the only thing left is to keep proving it, day after day, until it becomes who you are. And this is where we finish, but not with a gentle whisper, rather with a charge. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for someone to grant you permission. Don't wait for tomorrow. Today is your proof. Today is your evidence. Every action you take now is a vote for your future self. Draw the line. Say to yourself, "This is the version of me I no longer support. From now on, I prove my words with my actions." And then begin. Because success does not start with luck, or with talent, or with chance. Success starts with you, and it becomes real the moment you act like it. Here is where we land. After walking through ownership, action, habits, growth, accountability, future self, excuses, time, and honesty, the final message is clear. Action is the evidence. Words are empty without movement. Plans are empty without execution. Dreams are empty without discipline. The life you want is not built on the someday in your head. It's built on the small decisions you make daily. Every time you keep your word, you strengthen your character. Every time you face the hard thing, you stretch your capacity. Every time you reject excuses, you reclaim your power. And the most beautiful truth of all is that you don't need anyone's permission to start. Change doesn't ask for approval. It doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't check if you feel ready. Change responds only to courage. The courage to act even when you doubt yourself, even when the road feels steep. So let this be your turning point. Start today, not next week. Begin with one step, however small, and prove that you are serious. Use your time like your life depends on it, because it does. Choose honesty over illusion. Choose growth over comfort. Choose discipline over delay. Choose proof over promises. You are not too late. You are not stuck. You are not disqualified. You are one committed decision away from shifting everything. Decide now. Move now. Lead now. And as you do, remember, success is not out there waiting. It has always lived inside you. It begins with you. It always has, and it always will.